Welcome to this video, which serves as a complete guide to Qurbani and Aqiqah. We will explore the rulings, differences, and correct methods based on the opinions of renowned scholars. A common question during Dhul Hijjah is, can Qurbani and Aqiqah be performed simultaneously on the same animal? A misconception is that Qurbani cannot be given without first doing one's own Aqiqah. The correct ruling is that this misconception is unfounded. Your Qurbani will be valid even if you haven't performed your Aqiqah, and the two have no relation. Let's look at the key differences between these two distinct acts of worship. Qurbani is a wajib or obligatory act for those who can afford it, performed during a specific time, the 10th to 12th of Dhul Hijjah, using any lawful animal. Aqiqah, a sunnah act of worship, is a token of gratitude for a newborn, ideally performed on the 7th day after birth, using 2 goats or rams for a boy and 1 for a girl. When it comes to performing both Qurbani and Aqiqah on the same large animal, such as a cow or camel, there are 2 views. The permissible view states that taking separate shares for Qurbani and Aqiqah in a large animal is permissible, and this is the opinion of most scholars. The most virtuous Sunnah view suggests that since they are 2 completely separate acts of worship, performing Aqiqah independently on the 7th day with a goat, without combining it with Qurbani, is the most virtuous Sunnah. Regarding the Sunnah method of Aqiqah, is it correct to delay it until Eid? The core purpose of Aqiqah is celebrating the arrival of the child on earth. Delaying it until Eid diminishes this specific joy. The Sunnah acts for the 7th day include naming the child with a beautiful Islamic name, shaving the baby's head, and slaughtering the Aqiqah animal, following the Sunnah, a ram or goat. If you do combine them, there are 3 essential conditions. First, the intention for Qurbani and Aqiqah must be entirely separate. Second, the earnings must be 100% halal. If even a small portion of a partner's earnings is haram, the entire Qurbani is invalid. Third, the animal must be large, like a cow, buffalo, or camel. Partnership in a small animal like a goat or ram is not valid for Aqiqah. For Qurbani in partnership, a single animal can have between 1 and 7 shares, but it is not mandatory to complete 7 shares. A warning. Forcing the inclusion of deceased relatives' names to complete the shares is an innovation. Always ensure that the partner's earnings are halal, and it is best to discuss this openly among partners beforehand. Let's look at intention and ostentation. Arrogance in Qurbani, such as buying a larger animal than a competitor, invalidates the Qurbani. Taqwa, or piety, means the intention is solely to please Allah by offering the healthiest, most beautiful animal. This intention is the very heart of Qurbani. Regarding the rules of slaughter, saying Bismillah is essential. If forgotten unintentionally, the meat remains halal, but intentionally omitting it makes the animal haram. Saying the partner's names after slaughter is mustahab, or preferable, but not mandatory if the intention is correct. Slaughtering at night is makruh, or disliked, because the darkness may lead to mistakes in cutting the veins, although slaughtering in light is permissible. A sunnah of Eid day, and a common mistake. It is better not to eat anything in the morning, and to take the first meal of the day with Qurbani meat, contrary to Eid al-Fitr. This shows respect for the hospitality given by Allah. A common misconception is that slaughtering chickens or ducks is forbidden on Eid day. This is completely fabricated. Slaughtering chickens or ducks for general consumption on Eid day is 100% permissible. The ruling on distributing and preserving the meat. It is mustahab to divide the meat into 3 parts, 1 for yourself, 1 for relatives and friends, and 1 for the poor and needy. However, this is not a strict binding rule. A prevalent misconception is that Qurbani meat cannot be frozen for more than 3 days. This is wrong. You may preserve and eat the meat for as long as you need, according to your desire. The share for society, compulsion versus Islamic right. Islam grants the donor complete freedom in distributing their meat. In many areas, meat is forcefully collected, or expected, as a quasi-society share. Collecting meat without the donor's full consent is oppression, which may nullify the original purpose of the Qurbani. The person who gave the meat should be allowed to distribute it freely. Superstitions and rulings. The superstition that Qurbani blood contains healing properties is entirely baseless and ignorant. There is no cure in animal blood. Regarding the hide, you may process and use the animal hide yourself. However, if you sell the hide, the entire amount must be donated to the poor, and you should not keep any for yourself. Rules for Qurbani on behalf of the deceased. It is permissible to give a completely separate animal, or a share of Qurbani, in the name of the deceased. You can also include the deceased in your own Qurbani's intention for the reward. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, shared the reward of his animal with his entire ummah, both the living and the deceased. In summary, here is a checklist for a pure Qurbani. Purify your earnings, keep intentions separate, prioritize the Sunnah day for Aqiqah, avoid superstitions, and achieve taqwa by making Qurbani solely for the pleasure of your Lord. This video is designed to clarify the rulings and conditions of Qurbani and Aqiqah. We will now summarize the core differences and rules for each ritual. Qurbani is wajib, performed from the 10th to 12th of Dhul Hijjah, using cattle or a goat, with up to 7 shares and a large animal. The meat is distributed among the individual, relatives, and the needy. Aqiqah is sunnah, ideally done on the 7th day after birth, with a minimum of 1 goat for a girl or 2 for a boy, and the meat is for the individual, relatives, and neighbors. Key conditions include ensuring that the earnings used for Qurbani are halal, and that both Qurbani and Aqiqah are performed with a sincere intention to please Allah, avoiding any worldly display. The core distinction is that Qurbani is an obligatory act of worship for those who are financially capable during Dhul Hijjah, while Aqiqah is a recommended sunnah performed to express gratitude for a newborn child, ideally on the 7th day. Qurbani is restricted to specific days of the year, while Aqiqah can be performed at any time, depending on the child's birth. A common question is whether Qurbani is accepted if one has not yet performed their own Aqiqah. The answer is that both acts are independent, and one's Qurbani remains valid even without having completed their Aqiqah. When performing Qurbani, up to 7 people can share a large animal. It is critical to ensure that every partner's income is from a halal source, as unlawful earnings can invalidate the entire sacrifice. The animal selected for sacrifice must be healthy, well-nourished, and strong, as it is being offered as a dedication to Allah. The quality of the animal is a reflection of the donor's piety.